Hello, hello everyone, good evening, welcome, hope you can hear me okay, hope everyone's doing okay. I forgot to ask for requests today, so I haven't got many charts prepared, but if there's any that you'd like to look at, then if we've got time we'll look at them at the end. So here in Bitcoin I use Deribit because they use the combined prices from 8 different brokers, and so it's quite a good representation of price. Your mileage might vary a little bit. We're still stuck at this 61.8 fib level from this high to this low, 99.76, which is basically 10,000, and the pivot level is what we haven't been able to close above. 2 weeks ago, after 8 up weeks, which was the longest we've done since May, we had a pause week, a doji, a big fat doji with a big wide range. Now we've had an inside week, still unable to close above that 61.8 level, but unable either to close underneath the 50%. When you do the golden ratio zone thing, when you go from this high to this low and you stall at a 61.8 level, if you break the 50% level here in the middle, you will go to at least the 38.2 and sometimes the 236 fib. So that's where we're at. And so really the important support comes in around 87.50, 8800. And so this is where we are. Potentially, we could not come back that far. We might just come back 50% of last week's, say, open close. But if I go down to a daily chart, I'm a big fan of zigzag corrections, 3-wave corrections. And we've had the first leg, and hopefully with this double top today, the bounce leg. And now we're going to see that third leg of correction before we can buy it again. And I'm a big fan of, they have a relationship. So if this first leg was this distance down, then we can see that if this second leg of correction lines up with 61, if this second leg down is 61.8 of the first leg, it lines up with our 8,700 support level. So that's another vote for this level to be support. However, if we make an equal measured move, which takes us to around 79.50, then hey ho, that would be a very nice back test of the 200-day moving average. If we extend beyond and we do the full golden ratio, so we've got three prices where I'm looking for this to come back to. They don't come back to any of these if we can't break 8,700. And then, so the second one would be down here at 7,500 if we overshoot. But Bitcoin does like to overshoot, but certainly it feels like the dips are being bought. So sometimes when that happens, when you're expecting a decent size correction in price, but it stays kind of holding up and kind of yapping sideways, what happens is that markets sometimes correct in time instead of price. And so if we count how many days this rally took, this was 56 days, and very often corrections are 1/3 of the time that we took to rally. So if we took it as exactly a third, that would be 18 days. If we did, 38.2, it would be, 19 or 20 days. And that's quite interesting because if we project that from this high, that takes us to next weekend, next Sunday, Monday, which, interestingly, is a big holiday weekend. It's a big holiday in the United States. It's the Memorial Day weekend. It's a big holiday in the United Kingdom. It's a big holiday in Canada. It's Victoria Day. And so for a lot of countries, that's the weekend, not the end of the month, but next weekend. And very often you see markets reverse around big holiday weekends. So for me, I think that we are probably going to see a down week. It might be an inside week, but it'll be a week of back and fill. And the only way I'm wrong, obviously, is if we can close and if we hold above 10,000, rather than being one of those lovely fake moves that Bitcoin likes to pull, when it loves to do this. It just loves to get the other side of that level, get everybody bullish and then just dump on them. So for me, if we're going to hold the 10,000, we need to get above and and really hold above it, and then I would be tempted in. Ryan says, isn't everybody on holiday now though? Yes, they are. But who is not in on it? We are, retail traders for more and more of the moves, I think, that are coming in Bitcoin, especially now that we have an inverse correlation with stock indexes. So at the moment, and long may it last, when stock indexes are going up, Bitcoin is on the back foot a bit. And when Bitcoin has been going up, stock indexes have been going down. So we've flipped that correlation. That's really good news if Bitcoin is going to be a hedge, because people who are hedging their stock market positions don't wait until the stock market goes down to buy them, to put their hedges on. They tend to buy them before then. The other thing that I think might be a factor is, and this has certainly been the case since the start of the year, where was it? I had a chart for 1 second for the hash rate. So it seems that there's a very strong correlation at the moment between the Bitcoin hash rate and Bitcoin price. And that's kind of made and that's been true since the start of the year. So if that's the case, let me find if I had the tab open, and I think I stupidly closed it, which is fine because I have got like a gazillion tabs open. But that is one of the things that I've been looking at. And I think in a few days, the difficulty is due to decrease. The hash rate should increase. That should mean that hopefully, our correction should be over and we can carry on again. So I don't have the chart here. Lord of the Rings says, what do I think about the potential double top on the 3-day time frame? Well, this is a double top here. This is a double top here. It's not a triple top yet. Okay, but we've certainly, this is really what I would call a swing failure pattern. This is where you make a marginal new high. This is what I mean about Bitcoin loves to do this. Loves to make a marginal new high or low and then reverse. So we did this just here. We made a marginal new high. I call that a swing or failure pattern, when you can't close at the new high and then you reverse. So I just think that we have another week of back and fill correction to come before we can look to move up again. And for me, the favorite level is 8,750. If we get underneath 8,750 on a daily close, because Bitcoin loves to mess with people's heads, then we should look for 8,000 and more likely 7,500 before we find support and we go up again. So what's my opinion on people calling for 2,000 to 3,000? I don't see it. There are a lot of Elliott wave people who think that this is one big corrective wedge. There's a lot of very hard, this has been quite, for people who count waves, I think that this has been quite tricky to count. But for me, I'm a moving average trend person. If we can take out these highs at 10,500, for me, we're on our way up and in a new swing higher. So that's really my kind of bull bear line, 10,500. We could see a bigger correction here. I would be surprised to see us below 7,000, to be quite honest. I would be. But everybody got, very, very bullish after a big rally in a row. Okay, so that's where we are with Bitcoin. That's the hash rate is what I am watching out for. And I really do think, thin liquidity, especially around next weekend, might give us the turn that we want beginning of next week, hopefully. So let me see if I can find it. So we survived the halvening, so things are looking good. Let's take a look at where we are with Ethereum. Okay, and we'll go to a daily chart of Ethereum, because we've got a very similar situation going on here, in that we've got stuck at, this is ETH US dollar. If we take our fibs from the 14th of February high, rather than the high here. We're stuck at a 61.8. We've got two alternatives for how far we're going to fall back in this next swing in ETH. If I use my fibs from this high, we've paused at a 61.8, and I would normally expect an ABC correction, just like Bitcoin, to the 38.2 next. We've got dead flat moving averages, sideways trading range, and so 166 would be where I would be looking back to. I'll just mark that, 166. But if I move my fibs out up to this high, all the way to the highs in June 2019, we have reversed at a 50%. If you reverse at a 50%, mean revoking markets tend to keep mean reverting, and so we would then do 50% back, and that's 158. So we've got a bit of a little range. We can say where our support is. If we lose and we make a new low and we lose that 200-day moving average in Ethereum. So there's no need to freak out. And, when your moving average is flat and you get underneath it, there's no need to freak out and say the trend is now down and it's, blah, blah, blah. Flat moving averages mean there is no trend. So that's what I would be looking back for. So around 158, 164, if we lose 174, which is where the kind of ideal support is in the 200-day moving average. Rona says the 5-day chart has been very telling for swing trades and it's looking very toppy. I completely agree. Giselle said, what exactly is the benefit of the halving? I don't know what the benefit is. I don't know. That was how it was designed. So I think I'll stick to the charts. I suppose it prevents inflation. So with this first of all, the big move in Bitcoin was not very good news for most alts. Most of them suffered from it. And now that normally we would expect when Bitcoin goes sideways or has a bit of back and fill, that Bitcoin would outperform, that the alts would outperform. And to be honest, not very many of them are at all. But my favorite one is ADA, sorry. Here's ADA. In ADA, I've had my fibs just on this most recent 5-wave move lower here, mainly because they work so well at the 236 fib, and we stalled here at the 61.8. This is exactly, this could be a forewarning of what we could see with Bitcoin. We have a pullback, a slightly lower high, we come back to that 50% level, back up and off we go again. So this is a bullish flag pattern in ADA Bitcoin. In ADA Tether, sorry. We've bounced above this 61.8 fib, so we haven't broken this 50% level in the middle. Next target is up here at the 786, which is 6,061. If I put fibs on this huge bigger swing here, does it tell us any different? Not much. This is the 38.2 level where we stalled. Fine. And then the next one is actually a little bit higher. So we get our target a little bit higher. So it's between 6,000 and 6,200 would be our upside target next for this swing in ADA buy pullbacks. So when we say buy pullbacks, let's say these previous highs, this might give us, previous highs, they always give you, because they're such important to the trend, they always tend to give you a bit of a stall and a pullback entry, which is what I think we've got right here and now. So I'm looking for ADA Tether to continue to 6,000, 6,200. And if we look at ADA against Bitcoin today, ta-da, oops. Now let's take a look on the daily before we go up. So we're still in this wedge consolidation. We haven't actually quite broken out ADA Bitcoin, but we have had really nice bounces and really nice support from this 200-day moving average. It was resistance, now it's support. A beautiful bounce from these daily moving averages. Not only that, but cleared the 20 moving average, which for the last 3 days has been resistance. So we know if we are going to see a pullback where we wouldn't want to go back below. So we really wouldn't want to go back below 50% of this big up day or this daily 20 moving average, which is going to put us around 545, 550. And here on the hourly, that would be the hourly 200 moving average. So looking to buy pullbacks to keep going in ADA Bitcoin, hoping we break out from this wedge, and bearish back below 545 for me. Let's go back to the daily and talk about if we can break out from this little wedge. These highs are obviously going to be our first target up here. That's where I'd be looking first, 694. And if this is just going to be one of those bearish ABC equal measured moves, we will go that little bit higher, I think, and 714. Hopefully, so we'll just make a marginal new high and then 714. I would hate to see us stall there and come all the way back. I'd like to see us keep going because big picture, back to these lows and yeah, 979. I think 1,000 is a better target for ADA Bitcoin. So that's probably my favorite looking, bullish looking chart tonight. Now, some of the other charts that have looked really bullish have been a bit disappointing. First one here is, this is ZRX. Let's zoom out on the weekly. Wonder why I put this level on. I think I put this horizontal level on because it was just such an important support and resistance level here. This low, this high here. For me, this was the last swing lower before we made a low. So this is a level that we have to get above to reverse the trend. But more disappointing, as we just spoke about in ADA, this is an ABC equal measured move that we've reversed at. When I see that, I don't want to see it come back below this 61.8 level, which we have. And so potentially, this is a rally over for ZRX. And we're going to see a bigger fall. Check Bitcoin hourly FML. Okay, let's check Bitcoin hourly FML. Ashby Debs, yeah. You know, it doesn't fall down easily, does it? But remember, it keeps making three-wave corrections that are kind of equal. And so, you know, if we did that here. Listen, do I think that would I be like, I'm not falling over to short Bitcoin. I think it's a really bad short, you know, but a little ABC correction and then back to these lows would not be weird here at all. Okay, it's not you know, it's so close to resistance, it looks really toppy. So I'm just sitting on my hands letting it play out. And you know, when it's like this, when you've got no trend and it's going sideways, it's so easy to get chopped up and lose money. You jump in, it doesn't work. You say, oh, I shouldn't have done it. I get out. And, you know, it's death. It could be death on a stick. So I would say just be a little bit careful. Look at it against Tether. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, you know, it still looks toppy to me. And you're right, whatever time, if we look at it, somebody said look at a 3-day. It's a sideways range, really, look. Until we break out of this sideways range, you know, is there any problem with you buying it here? No, none at all. Buying it here. You can buy it here if you want. But just be aware that we have got this really big level that we've still got to get through. So if we get up here and fail again, you know, be careful. We could see a bigger pullback, that's all. Oh, look at Tether dominance. Okay, I will do. Crypto Bitcoin says the Stalingrad supply zone around 10, 11K is not breakable. Not yet, but the longer we go sideways and the world doesn't end, and, especially if we do this little ABC correction here and hold this 200 moving average, then, I think that this is, a very nice looking setup. Corrections really do look like that, but we could make a triangle here. Triangle patterns are normally, so corrections are normally 3 waves. One down, one up, one down. Triangles are 5 waves, A, B, C, D, E. So, for example, all the currencies are making those at the moment. And so if we did that, if we made a lower high, so if we do this here, and then we come down and we make a higher low, we could be setting up a triangle. So we come up again. So they're 5 waves. They normally go A, B, C, D, E. And so the E leg, when everybody gives up, that's when you should be buying. And that's what we would be looking for. So yeah, just honestly, it is such a tough place to listen. If we get above this level, we're going to buy pullbacks. We're going to be fine. If it's not just going to be one of those fake out moves, listen, what does Bitcoin love to do just before it drops? It makes a strong move up, doesn't it? Makes a strong move up and everybody goes, it's going up. And then it goes boom. Every time. We don't want that to be us. And where we will get filled, it's always right just before it reverses. So let's not let that be us tonight, right? Okay. So yeah, I'm a little bit concerned that this ZRX has made a bit of a bearish pattern. Quite a few of them have. Now, quite a lot of charts have had some pretty decent moves today, but they're not quite out of trouble for me, or maybe ready yet. One of them, some of them I've got my eye on, particularly Nano. I'm particularly looking for a bottom in BNB. Let me see that one. But they've got a lot. For example, here's Nano. Has a lovely move above these daily moving averages, starting to really accelerate the way we did here. But we're so close to this 200 moving average, and I want to see right now on this hourly if we're going to make a new high here. If we have, we know that this is where the 200 moving average is our first resistance, and then above there, then happy days. So I do like Nano, but we can't really say it's an uptrend. It's just a counter trend bounce at the moment. BNB is the same thing. BNB Tether is really coiling up tight, isn't it, between these moving averages. And this 200 moving average has been pretty strong resistance. There's a lot to like about this, how it's holding the 236 fib. Again, if we can break above this is BNB Tether. If we can, and this is the third touch of our trend line, which unfortunately is often a false break. But if we can break out from here and hold above this 200-day moving average, happy days. We'll be an on-X leg higher to 19 and 22. If we take a look at BNB Bitcoin, which is what we need to see going up as well, then we've been in this kind of broadening wedge, haven't we? I feel like it is. So if I connect this low and this low, third touch false break, and here we are trying to make a base around here on the daily. We've had a pretty good, if we're going to do it, this is where we're going to do it from. On the 4 hour, we've had a pretty nice double bottom, but we're stuck in this sideways range, no breakout. We really do need to get above 17,270 for Binance coin to start going up higher from this potential double bottom down here that I'm looking at. So Ashby Debs says, does the CME gap always get filled? I can only really speak to legacy markets, and I'd say about 70% of the time it does, yeah. And that's why it's such a popular trade. But mark the gap on your chart. If it doesn't get filled within 3 or 4 days, then the gap itself becomes support and resistance. So, for example, let's use Bitcoin as an example for that, and the CME. We'll look at the gap. So here's our gap really here on the daily. And we can't really see it very, let's see it very well. Forward only. Ta-da. Here's our gap. So we need to go a little bit lower, don't we, to get to the close. Down here. This is where we closed. 9285. No surprise if we look at CME, that's the next fib. So in CME here, we're at the 886 fib. Short term, that's the 786, which confirms the reversal and so on. So at bottom of our sideways range. So that's where we need to go if we're going to fill the gap. And no, not always it doesn't. If it doesn't fill within 3 or 4 days, then that gap, so this little gap here becomes support. And people will buy against it because it won't break. Like that close. So, I know the close, sorry, the close is here. So no. Anyway, that's my experience. I can't show you on this time frame. That's my experience of gaps. So this then would become a support level. If we don't break it, you know, by Thursday, and let's face it, it's only Monday, I don't think we'll fill it at all. No. And it tends to work that way in indexes. You kind of need to get them filled pretty quickly. Right, so let's take a look at some requests. OGN and Atom. So yeah, let me find my list. Nothing like doing it live on the fly. Let's find, I don't know where OGN is. Never mind, we'll make a chart for OGN, that's okay. Origin protocol. Ooh, this is a nice looking base forming here, isn't it? Just like the base we formed here and we rallied from and here. So same thing. CCI is looking really nice and turning up again, almost through the center line. So let's see where. I'm going to put a fib on from this low to this high. Is this a good level? This 886? Yeah, it's a great level because this gives us some trading rules. If we bounce from this 886 fib level and we get above this 786 fib level here, 2319, then our target will be 50% and these highs. So this is our meet in our trade is between this level and this level if we get above it. So 2319 would be where our resistance is from this sideways range. So now when if we look at it on the daily, we can see where the closes are and where the resistance is, but we can also see it pretty clearly here on the 4 hour. It's a lovely look, but we got to break these highs here to be on our way. So yeah, certainly we've stopped going down. If we break above 2040, I think we're going up, and 2319, if we stop there, unfortunately we have not managed to reverse the trend. If we get above 2319 in OGN, we've got a really nice setup to 3964. I like that one. Let's take a look at Atom. With all of these, make sure you check the US dollar chart as well as the Bitcoin chart if you can. Even on TradingView, they'll show you it against the dollar. You need to make sure that it is kind of going up So on the daily here in Atom, this was pretty important support. I felt like this 786 fib level and this spike low. And I didn't like how when we got underneath this level, let's draw it better than this. Oh no, I'll leave that. I'll move those because they haven't worked. Because support becomes resistance in Atom Bitcoin. And so we bounce from this level and bounce from this level, and now we've been underneath it. We're really struggling to get back up again. And if we can't, you know, we're going to drop down to this 886 fib level at 23.43 down here. So this is how it's looking. This red line, therefore, is our, you know, kind of support and resistance, isn't it? And we're underneath it. I'm going to say if we break the red line, happy days. We're going to come back and retest. That would be a good look. We'll come back and retest this 786 fib level that we broke. And we don't want to stop there. We don't want to stop there for a couple of reasons, mainly because it's resistance, but it would also have the look of a, if we did, kind of, it would have that equal, it's not quite equal, but that kind of ABC equal measured move pattern look as well. So it's got a bit of work to do, Cosmos, to turn it around for me. Doesn't mean it won't do it or it can't do it, or that sometimes they don't overrun. And if we do, if we in fact look left, you know, we are actually on a pretty good support and resistance level on the left if we ignore the fibs. Yeah. You know, Fibonacci levels are not everything. This is a good support level to have a go at, but I would just like to see it go that a little bit further before, you know, it's just a stall in a downtrend at the moment until we do a bit more. Okay. Okay, Tether dominance. Let's have a look. What am I typing? Hold on. God, we've got the same flag pattern, haven't we? I really don't like doing technical analysis on derivatives. I would say some people would think that we've broken out here, wouldn't we? And so this is a breakout back test, and we've gone A, B, C, D, E, and so this could be a breakout, but we'll find out when we get to the highs, because, you know, that's the, and in fact I would look a little bit lower like this, because if we can't make a new high, then we're struggling. But potentially, yeah, we have broken out from a triangle or a pennant pattern here, and this is the back test, and we're on our way higher according to this daily. So right, hold on. I was just going to compare the price. I won't do that now. Okay. Okay. Nordal. No, you can join my strategy group anytime you like. And that's a good thing. Let's talk about pattern analysis on an RSI. Okay, I'm happy to do that. No, you can join my group anytime. And you can't join for 30 days. If you find it doesn't help you or you didn't learn anything, you get your money back. So you can't lose, no. And you cancel it yourself in PayPal, so it's easy. So join anytime. Very friendly group, and we've got a really good chat, so. Okay. RSI. So let's talk about what RSI is, because I really like RSI for identifying divergence and its relative strength. There's a couple of rules that I have when I use RSI. I think that there's a few things that really work on RSI. I'm going to go out the futures and go back to regular Bitcoin. Here we go. RSI is based on closing prices. So when you're looking to see if you've got divergence or not, you need to make sure, for example, here let's tidy up this chart, here in Bitcoin, and let's take the stuff away. I'm just going to have a bit of a cleanup. Okay, for example, this double top here was forewarned by a bit of bearish divergence. If we put our trend line on closes, because remember that RSI is based on closes, you can see that we closed at a higher high. But here on the RSI, we closed at a lower high. That is classic bearish divergence. We made a new high on the chart, but we couldn't make a new high in Bitcoin. So remember, always use the trend, always use the closing prices when you're seeing, because sometimes it'll spike, but it won't make a low, if you know what I mean. So this was a good warning. In fact, when we look at this high we made here in Bitcoin, let's move this up. This high that we made at 10,000 also was forewarned by bearish divergence. If this is a 4-hour chart we're looking at, we made a higher high on price, we made a lower high here on the RSI. So that warned us that the strength of the rally was running out of steam, and that you can't on its own, use that, but it's really useful. The other way, I know people, believe it or not, who trade RSI trendline breaks. So they'll draw an RSI on the chart like this. So at the moment in Bitcoin, they'll probably draw it like that. So when are we going to be bullish? When we break the trend line in RSI. And they really do it that simple. I think they use an hourly chart. It's a really good strategy. It does work. Anyway. Another thing that I look for on RSI, that's one of my favorite rules, is to do with the 50% level. So the midline, the 50% level, it's very often where you come back to. If you're trending, very often the RSI will not reset all the way down to the bottom again. If you're trending, very often the RSI, especially in a wave 4, it's a classic for me sign if it's a wave 4 and we're going to see another leg higher or not. If we're going to keep going, if the RSI can only come back to the 50% and then turns higher again, for me, that's really quite a bullish signal, especially if I've got a buy setup combined with that. But yeah, we haven't reset yet. We haven't tagged that 50% level in the middle in terms of the RSI here on the daily. I think that we've got a little bit more. Yeah, I think we've got another swing lower. Today is going to be a doji day. Complete indecision. It's not bullish. It's not bearish. I just think it's going to be a tricky week. So if it's a tricky week, okay, do I sometimes use the range style of... No, but I have to say that Saeed is a friend of mine. I have known him at least 8 years, I think. And he's a really good trader. He's like, all technical analysis is risk management. That's what it is, okay? This stuff with moving averages, it's RSI... Like, it's just telling us when our trade is not working so that we don't hang on and lose a shed load of money. That's all it is. It just gives us triggers to get in when it's going our way and tell us when it's not. So for me, there is no bad technical analysis. It either gives you an edge or it doesn't. And his trading strategy gives him an edge. Give it a try. You might like it. For me, if I found it, no, like, yeah, he's the real deal. But I don't tend to use the range style. Now, you can trade within a range, And there are some people, you know, who are really good, much better than me, at reversals, at levels. Trader Dante, for example. You know, I've known him, God, 12, 14 years. It's 15 years. Anyway, my partner has known him 25 years. So these people, you know, I know who the real, you know, there is no bad technical analysis. It either gives you an edge or it doesn't. You know, and all of these oscillators, whether it's an RSI, a MACD, whatever, I think that, especially I really like a slow stochastic. They give you an edge. They're really good for timing. Most Certainty says the benefit of the halvening is to replicate the mining gold. Oh, the deeper the underground, the harder it is, the less rewarding. Thank you, Most Certainty. Thank you. That's a good answer, isn't it? I couldn't at the time think of anything that clever. Well done. Now, something, you know, so last week we were talking about Paul Tudor Jones and what a big deal that was. Okay, he's one hedge fund manager. There was one snippet of news that might have missed your attention, and that was to do with JP Morgan. So when I worked at a hedge fund, we traded on JP Morgan's platform. JP Morgan were our broker. They took the other side of our trades, or we trade through them. That's one of the biggest functions of these investment banks. So they all do that. Okay, some people, you know, and there's not just JP Morgan, obviously. So JP Morgan teaming up with the two US-based Bitcoin brokers, Coinbase and Gemini, I think it's Gemini, is a really big deal. Really big deal. The reason is that now they are able to offer, instead of just Bitcoin futures, they're able to offer pretty fast access to real hard Bitcoin to all of their hedge fund clients. So we've got one of the biggest, most, you know, influential hedge fund managers of, I would say, the last 30 years saying he's long Bitcoin and you'd be an idiot not to be. And suddenly it's opened up to all of these other hedge funds. So what we might start to see, and these people are sharp operators, we might start to see that technical analysis doesn't work quite so well, or we'll see a few more fail patterns. You know, fail patterns, let's face it, you know, where, like, if we look at, say, for example, in the DAX, that head and shoulders that fell because it was an ABC. Fail patterns are really strong reversal patterns. And the more, hedge funds are pretty sharp operators. And they use computers to trade against us. So now with JP Morgan giving them access to these exchanges, what we might start to see in the next year or two is we'll be trading against computers. They have no heart, they don't care. And I think it might get harder. So let's see. I think it's great for Bitcoin. And, you know, and in a bull market, you just buy dips. But when it's tricky, like it has been the last few years, we have to learn a few more skills. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming. I'm sorry it's such a quiet week. And the pulp says UBT. Hold on. Let's go back and look at UBT. Unibright against Bitcoin. Oh, this one's spiky. So I put up, this is 4 hour Unibright to hit. I don't know if this is the best chart. Is this the best chart? Don't worry, you can, where else is it? Yeah, we'll just do it here. Okay. Okay, so we put our fibs on this first high to low. Very nice rally. We got validated the 236 fib here, didn't we, with this support and resistance at this level. So we know we've drawn our fibs right. Okay, first up was a 38.2. Then we couldn't close above the 50, but we went to the 61.8. When you do that, your target is always back to the 38.2 if you break the 50 in the middle, which we did, 38.2. Then we came back to the 236, and now we're on our next leg up again. couldn't make a new high, couldn't close above this 61.8. You know, this 61.8, 38.2 range that you get in, it can be really persistent. You can stay in it for a while. So for sure from here, having failed at this 61.8 again, we kind of come back to 36,059, I think. But potentially we could come all the way back to the bottom, unfortunately, of this sideways range. So just watch out. For here is our first support, 36,593. But if that fails, we'll go back down here again, 25,393. And we're not much of a trend, just unfortunately just going sideways for a bit. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so you know, at the moment, okay, at the moment, when I say it gets harder, okay, at the moment, pretty simple technical analysis works. Candlestick analysis, okay, stuff like that. You can put your stop at underneath a big bullish pattern or candle or whatever. You can have it fairly tight and get away with it. Once they have access to those exchanges, they know where we put our stops. They run our stops and they say, thank you very much, we've got a bargain here. That's nothing in terms of theory. Nothing in terms of theory. That's all. But yeah, that's, I think, it's good news. It is good news. So crypto lady would like to look at VeChain. Let's take a look at VeChain Bitcoin. A spiky chart now. Is it just Bitfinex with that spike? Here we go. Let's look at it against Binance on this Binance chart. Okay, so for now, I've been looking at VeChain in terms of, this was a really nice 886 bounce. We got as far as this thing, and I'm looking for another leg higher. I'm still looking in VeChain for another swing higher to 72 and a lower high. So I think we're going to make a big ABC pattern, if you like. So this was our first swing lower, okay, up to the spike high, and here's our hopefully second swing lower. Now when you reverse it an 886 fib, which we did here, if you can get above your 786 fib, which we did here, then your target is always back to the 50%. So this all lines up really nicely. So this is also then the ideal place for us to find support and rally from against Bitcoin. So far, so good. We've been holding the same range for 2 down weeks, so it's pretty frustrating. So here's our buy base. You know, on the 4 hour, it looks like we're trying to, let's put some high Kanashi on. It looks like we're trying to rally from here, doesn't it? And so I would like to see this wedge break out to the upside. We haven't yet. And a next leg higher begin. And I do have, yeah, a big target at 72 for VeChain Bitcoin. It's just all gone very quiet. And if this is not a breakout, and this is, we're going to stay in this sideways range for a bit longer, 50 will be quite tough resistance, I think. So VeChain Bitcoin, yeah, I love this level. I'm just waiting for it to get going up again. And Neo Bitcoin, Neo, it's been a bit of a, if we go to the weekly of Neo, so we've got this, we've drawn our fibs from the lows to the highs. Here we are at the 786, this is our support, 997, as long as we don't close below it, we're holding support, and this is the 61.8 that we broke underneath that we can't get back above, which is at 1,132. And that would also be the daily 20 moving average. So again, stuck in a sideways range, 10 days now. 10 weeks, sorry, in NEO. Every time we get up here, I get excited, but we haven't managed to break out. And it looked like, for me, on the daily, that we had broken out, but we haven't. On the weekly, you know. So we know where the bottom of our range is. And now we've got this tight 4-day range. You know, when you have a big down candle, we talk about this a lot, the Maribosu line, if you like, 50% of the big red candle. If we can close above that, that would be the first sign that we're going up. If we can close above the daily 20 moving average, that would be the first sign that we're going up. Otherwise, I'm afraid we're looking back towards the bottom of the range again, and just nothing going on. Now, that's fine against Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin goes up, the value of your NEO would go up. So maybe the dollar chart gives us a bit more, or Tether. Because if we look at NEO Tether on the weekly, we had a really nice rally. We have rallied 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we have a green week here, this will be 9 weeks in a row. That's like huge. So, lots to like. Okay. The problem is, on this weekly, what we need to see, from that, we've taken just this most recent drop lower. 50% level here is our resistance, 10.32 NEO dollar, and the weekly 50 moving average. So, you know, we are at potentially pretty tough resistance again on the weekly, and unless we close above it on the weekly, this is a first leg of correction. We'll do it just like Bitcoin has done. We've gone very big rally, and we need a 3-wave correction. So this will be A, B, and still looking for a lower. 61.8, we didn't quite tag it, but oh yeah, we did. So we'll do that 61.8, 50%, 38.2 is where I'd be a buyer. So 8.8 US dollar Tether is where I'd be buying NEO again. 1 Bitcoin and MCO CRO. Yeah, let's do that. 1. Zippo, I'll do that for you, no problem. This is a funky Q coin. This is a nice little bullish flag holding above the 200 moving average. This is Telcoin. Don't know anything about it, but this chart is quite a nice look. You know, when you come up to it's not a hard line, these 200 moving averages. Here, you know, we really tried to get above it and double topped. Here, we've gone above the 200 moving average. Each time we come back, the buyers step up. Happy days. We're holding above this 200 moving average and made a pennant, which if we break out of, happy days, and we could see a nice leg higher in Telcoin. 236 fib, obviously, from this first swing lower would be 553 would be, and these previous highs, first target. That one's got a nice look. Anyway, I'm going to look at the one you asked for, which was Harmony. Okay, this is a daily chart. So this, okay, if you think of a downtrend as lower highs and lower lows, when you try and reverse the trend, you have to make a higher high to stop the downtrend, and that's exactly where we are with this level here. We're stalled at this previous high level that's giving us trouble at 37. Yeah, I used to, you know, when I first tried it, I used to look at whole moving averages, crypto Bitcoin. So above 37 will be our bullish trigger, and then we can look to these next lows and the 200 moving average here. So that's kind of simple look of it. So I would say 52, which is which this double bottom level is. Right, go a little bit higher. If let's put the fibs on. Our big fib is all the way up here at these previous highs at 113. So we're trying to make a base, and we've done it above 37. But what we might see, you know, it is a bit of a pullback like this. We could do a head and shoulders pattern if everything takes a little bit of a dip. So harmony, unless we get above 37, that's what I think we'll do. We'll build a right shoulder, hopefully, of an inverted head and shoulders, hold these daily moving averages and turn up again. So yeah, looking all right. Daily close above 37. That's what you want, a daily close. There. Am I a woman? Yes, I'm a woman. I was never a man. I've always been a woman. Why do you ask? Okay. Okay, let's look at NAS. Look at MCO and CRO. Sorry, MCO. Why does it matter anyway? MCO. Ta-da! Now, this one's at a really cool level. Almost at it. This may be what Bitcoin is doing. I'm going to take that big fib away. And we'll just take this last swing lower, 5-wave swing lower here, okay, in MCO Bitcoin. High to low. When you reverse at a 61.8 fib, if you break the 50% in the middle, which was resistance when we tried to rally, your target is the 38.2. I'm not sure if we quite tagged it yet. It's 5,600. Sometimes if you overshoot it as well, as we did on the upside, because they're messy levels, then you will overshoot it going the other way. So don't expect a sharp line here. Sometimes the levels get front run, so you never know. But I think that we've got potential for a little bit lower, 5,631. Now, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes the levels get front run. As I say, people buy them ahead of them, or we don't quite get there because they're worried they won't quite get filled at the level. So they put their orders in a little bit early. And when too many people do that, we don't quite reach the levels. That's the problem. So how would we know? If I put my fibs on from this low to high here like this. So if you're waiting to buy this and you're worried it's going to go without you, then I think if we get above 58.46 in this high, which is obviously the high that determines our downtrend at this point, then yeah, you need to jump in and buy it. So the plan for me in MCO Bitcoin would be to either buy it a little bit lower at 56.30 if we can hold support here, or I would buy it if we got above 58.46. And in this sideways range that we've been in now for a couple of days, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Lord of the Rings, when I first had your live stream, you thought I used a... Okay, that's funny because I don't use anything because you can normally hear everything. I've got a dog bowl next to my desk and the dog normally takes a really loud drink and all sorts of one high. I haven't checked engine. No, I'll take a check engine. I just wanted to make sure there's nothing I haven't forgotten to do. ENJ and ENG have been interesting lately, haven't they? We'll look at ENJ. I've got a little bit of sore throat tonight, which is not helping. No, we're not on the right page. Here we go. I have a Facebook group. Yeah, it's £25 a month, so that's like $30 a month. We look at the markets live twice a day. We have a Slack group where we talk about opportunities, and you know, you can join. And if you find you don't have the time or you're not getting your money's worth, you know, you can. There's a lot of videos. We have a massive video library where you can learn a strategy. So my goal is really for people to find their own strategy and say, this is what I want to see to enter, and this is what I want to see that will get me out. That means that my trade isn't working anymore. You know, because especially when people first start trading, they really focus on setups and they don't focus on exits, which is really bad, because the exit is really what determines your profit. If you let a trade come all the way back, you'll give too much back. If you get scared out too early, you'll also, you know, you'll lose a lot of potential gains. And so having a strategy that will help you stay in as long as possible, but without, you know, that's really my goal. And for me, you know, becoming a profitable trader was very hard. That was me when I first started trading. Very much so. So, you know, this engine has done exactly what ZRX has done. Okay, engine Bitcoin. This is it's got this failure at the 236 fib and this ABC pattern, and I'm feeling a little bit, you know, this lower high here is making me a little bit nervous. So time to get out of this one, engine, and wait and see. I tell you why, because ABC patterns for me, which I think that this is what it is with a funky here, ABC patterns usually retrace to the 786 fib. So we go from this low to high, 786, back to these lows, 896. That would be a long way. Even if we just do an ABC correction here, yeah, so potentially 1514, that would be support. And look, we've got pretty good structure of 1514, and that's where if we make an ABC correction, that's the daily 50 moving average, and that's also where we would be 61.8 of this first leg. So we can say to ourselves, if we lose that 50 moving average, watch out, because the equal measure move will take us at least down to these lows and the 200 moving average, and if not a little bit further. So, you know, if you're hodling because you love it, and 1514 would be where you need to watch out for, okay? If you're waiting to buy, 1514 would be the first place where I would be looking for us to make a base. So when we get down here, you know, we know what a base looks like, right? Double bottom. First of all, like, I would not, if you identify a level, just never buy the first level. Like, wait and see for a retest, higher low, what something, you know. Anyway, if you do buy the level, which is a great scalping strategy, don't go all, you know, manage your risk carefully, that's all. What about Bitcoin? Lambo Moon or 7K? I don't think we'll go as far as 7K, but I think we could go as far as 7.5, potentially. I hope not. It depends. You see, awful people got a little bit too bullish, didn't they, after 8 weeks of straight going up, didn't they? So we need to work that out a little bit. ASMR. I know, I'll do ASMR videos next. I don't know what I do, read books. Do you know, my partner made a video on YouTube of him sitting around a campfire with just the fire burning and his steak sizzling, and he got ASMR people watching it. Like, it took off. It's nuts. Anyway. Okay, so here to summarize, I think we're going to have a tricky week in crypto of back and fill. I am not bearish. I wouldn't be selling it, but I don't think that we're going to go up for another week. That's all. I think that maybe next weekend could be an interesting turning point, and I feel like we've got a little bit lower to come back to 9,000 in the futures, 8,800 in retail exchange prices, 8,850 maybe, and that would be the first place that I would be looking for support and for Bitcoin to turn higher again. Okay, thanks everyone very much for coming. I will see you all in a week. But I post snippets every day, especially if I think something's going on. So